Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are extremely excited and very fortunate to have Mr. David Newman with us today on the discussion. David's the founder of RX Smart Gear. You guys began, was it 2008, 2009? Is that right?
We say officially 2009, but probably started late 08.
Okay, nice. And obviously, you guys are you're specialists in the jump rope world. And do I understand correctly that you got started in this because you struggled with double unders and jumping rope yourself?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, it was just one of those elusive skills that I wasn't alone, right? Apparently, there's so many people across the globe that really struggle with this. So yeah, it was definitely a passion project for me.
That's awesome. And when did you get into CrossFit?
I started in May of 08, May 12th to be exact. So it's like a birth date. I remember that date vividly, just like most CrossFitters, and it was awesome.
I love that you know the exact date, like not the month and the year, but May 12th, the exact date.
Oh, yeah. I had a buddy that I ski with, real good ski buddy, that got into it quite a few months earlier and did his L1 back with when Castro and Glassman were all like leading the seminars, and Nicole Carroll. And so yeah, he just kept ringing in my ear, "You got to come try this, you got to come try this." And it sounded horrible. And he finally dragged me in there. And of course, first day, scaled everything and still threw up at the end of it. It was horrible. Absolutely horrible. But loved it.
It's impressive that you scaled. I mean, when I started, it was like I didn't think that was a thing. It was like, here's the workout, figure out how to do it. Doesn't matter how long it takes, doesn't matter like what it looks like, just figure out how to do it, which is cool. Now you had a background in coaching and teaching beforehand. Is that right? Like gymnastics or?
Exactly. Yeah. My wife and I we coached gymnastics. We finished up our coaching careers at San Diego State at a club program where we taught competitive girls. And I coached for over a decade, and I thought that was going to be my career path for a while after I finished college, and then kind of gravitated towards other things. But loved coaching. It was an amazing experience.
I had the opportunity. I was hanging out with James Hobart a couple of weeks ago, and he made mention that at the games that you coached him up. I'll put it that way. He said maybe that you crushed him a little bit with the coaching that you gave him and how much he enjoyed it and appreciated it because he hadn't had that kind of coaching before or in a while is what I guess what he was talking about. So like, it's cool that you're able to take that and still use that with your business now. And you guys run the RX method. And is that like coaching seminars that you guys take out and do? And are you in charge of running those? Do you have a team with you?
Yeah. The RX method is our teaching protocol that we've been trying to perfect over the last 16 years. And which, by the way, thanks for that note about James. He's awesome, and it's so cool to see somebody that's been in the space as long as he has, and so open and receptive to coaching. He was like a little kid. He just like, tell me more. He's just really fun to be around, and yeah, really great dude. So respect that a lot. But yeah, so our RX method is our teaching workshop that covers all things jump rope, and it's very detailed and very specific, and I feel like, and that just really comes from the way my brain works. Like, I need all the little in-betweens. I can't have these very general concepts and then try and tie them together. Like, I really need to understand the in-betweens, and I need to build a foundation. And I really think that stems from the gymnastics coaching background, and that's really kind of how I approached my own inaccuracies and inefficiencies, was just really trying to pay attention to the things that were less obvious, and then figure those things out, and a lot of trial and error as well. But it's just biomechanics, right? It's like any skill you learn in CrossFit. There's positioning, mechanics, and timing. And they're very specific, and people like to do them all over the board, but you want to at least try and funnel people towards, efficiency if you can. So that's always the goal.
And you're going to be at the Affiliate Con this year. Are you going to be running, like, what is it that you're going to be doing there? I'm guessing running workshops. Is it going to be in line with your RX Method courses? Is that pretty much what you're going to be taking us through?
Yeah, 100%. I'm super stoked about that too, by the way. That's just going to be yeah, just super exciting for me, just to try and interact and also go see all the friends and other people. I'm looking forward to going and listening to the other speakers with Khalifa and Hinshaw and all the other guys. It's going to be really, really just jam packed. But yeah, so I am given 2 different slots. I think a 45-minute slot and an hour slot, which honestly isn't enough time. I could talk people's ears off, and they probably will hear more than they want to hear. But yeah, in each of those, the goal is just to give people a foundation. I know with such short amount of time, like when we do our workshops, they can run 3 hours easily, just depending on how much rehearsal and activity we get into, right? So we go into a lot of theory, but as well as like try and practice. We put the theory into practice immediately, and it's really a lot of repetition. So, but really the intent is to give all the coaches a really solid foundation of where to start, because that's the problem is that people just are all over the board with where they start, and one of my biggest pet peeves is walking into a gym and seeing a wall full of speed ropes hanging on the wall. And, and I get it. I mean, owners, I mean, it's equipment's expensive, and owners just want to provide something for members that are coming in that don't have their own gear. And so, and that's one of those things, like people don't walk in with their own barbell typically, right? Like, yep. So with a jump rope, a lot of people are walking with their own jump ropes. And so it's kind of an afterthought to provide something. And so a lot of gyms provide speed ropes. They're inexpensive. They're easy. I get it. Well, a lot of them are inexpensive. Ours are not. Ours are actually extremely expensive, unfortunately, but there's a reason behind that. But when you put somebody that doesn't have any awareness of how to jump yet within a speed rope, to me, that's like trying to teach somebody to run and take them out onto a frozen lake and just giving them a shove.
Oh, wow.
If you could imagine, right? You're just kind of slipping and sliding all over, and there's no traction. Like you don't understand, and you can't really control what your body's doing. And that's exactly what a speed rope does. Even our speed ropes, which I think are the best on the market, I would never push anybody into using our speed ropes unless they're competing or unless that's something they want to do. But so getting people into the right gear at the beginning, and so like what I see is a lot of people. Pretty much everybody across the board, they oversize and underweight their jump rope. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Because I'm pretty sure that's exactly. If I had my jump rope with me and I showed it to you, you'd probably be like, "It's too long and it's too light and little." Yeah.
Yeah.
And why is that? Like, why is the size, the length, such a big issue? For me, it's like I like the longer one because I feel like it gives me more margin for error. Right? Sure. I can figure things out. Like while I'm in the air, I can feel how the rope's kind of going. And obviously I'm a little bit more experienced in double unders as far as the skill to accomplish aren't terrible for me, but I'm sure I'm not as efficient and not quite as good as them as they could be. So starting with the rope, like that was one of the things that James mentioned was like, you were immediately like, dude, you got to have a smaller rope. Let's go.
Oh, you completely changed his rope too?
Yeah. I think
wow.
I mean, James is obviously already super talented and accomplished. Right. And let me preface by saying, like, I'm an efficiency snob, right? So for me, when I look at something, I'm looking at it from a standpoint of what's optimal efficiency? How can you get the most work done with the least amount of effort? So that's a very extreme end. You can get a lot done all across the board. And I mean, I coach so many games athletes who are phenomenal. I mean, they can do gobs and gobs of double unders, and they can do crossover double unders. They can do triple unders. They're just extremely talented. But I look at it from the standpoint of, are you working harder than you need to?
Right.
And most people are. So you can learn with a longer rope. You can learn with a lighter rope. But those cause some, I call them inefficiency stack ups. And so the thing that people need to understand is that there is a limited space where the rope can clear your feet, right? The traffic zone is your feet and the ground. Yeah. Like that's where all the tripping happens. We got to get that rope between our feet and the ground, and the optimal space that you're trying to get through is about 10 inches. It's about 10 to 12 inches is all you want, right? So that's the first thing I'll watch when somebody picks up a rope and starts jumping. I just want to see, do they know where that pass through is? Because that pass through is very specific. It's very optimal. You can get by with the rope hitting further away, but that causes more friction and drag, right? And it can recoil into you. And you can get by with the rope coming in a little closer to your toes, but now you're flirting with catching because it's never going to be exact every time. So that 10-inch window is kind of a buffer that allows the rope to kind of fluctuate in and out, right? And still clear. Yep. So that's the first thing I want to see is like, do they know where the rope's passing through? Now from there, as long as you have that relationship, you want your body to be as relaxed as possible, and all you need to do with your hands is raise your hands to the center of your body, and do that without recruiting a bunch of muscles. And everybody's go-to movement is to well, it starts by grabbing too long of a rope, right? Here's the domino effect. Somebody will grab a long rope, they pull the rope over their head and they start to jump. They feel the rope slapping and dragging across the ground, and it feels very, ugly. And so they'll naturally start to push their hands away from their body to tighten up the rope until it comes through cleanly, right? And it happens every single time. And so what they don't realize they're doing is they're cleaning up the pass through, getting the rope to pass through, unencumbered, but they push their hands away. And so now what happens is they're using the bigger muscle. The minute you lift your elbows away from your torso, you're grabbing deltoid traps, right? Like there's nothing you can do. You can't do it without engaging these bigger muscles. And you don't want those to turn a jump rope. It's not necessary to turn a jump rope. And so
David, you are literally describing how I do my double unders. And that's why I can't do them in very huge sets, because I get so fatigued with my traps and my shoulders. And the reason I like my rope long is because I know my hands go out. And so I need the rope longer to account for that. But I think I need to reverse engineer the entire thing. I'm probably letting my hands.
I'm glad you just said that. You just said the most common phrase that I've heard for the last 16 years. When we go, like we're getting ready to drive up to Wadapalooza today to set up, and we'll be coaching people all weekend. And so when we've gone to all the regionals and the games and people come to our booth, they always tell me, I need a longer rope just because I tend to go wider when I jump. And what you don't realize is you're going wider because you're already using a longer rope. Like the rope forces you to start off wide. And then now what's happening is every rep, from the very first rep, you're pumping blood into your shoulders, which makes you go even wider sooner. You know what I mean? So people go wide because they're using a long rope, right? You're not getting a long rope because you're already wide. It's that chicken or the egg kind of thing. For
sure. This is great. This is like mind blowing for me. Yeah.
So where how do we find the proper height or length of a rope? I've seen the step on the rope and pull it up and it should be at your armpits. What's your recommendation? How do I determine what's the right rope length for me?
Yeah, for sure. So that's kind of a nuanced thing. So let's talk about stepping on the rope, pulling into your armpits. What a lot of people don't know is boxers developed that method. I believe boxers developed that method of measuring the rope, because what happens is they step on the rope with 2 feet. Their feet are usually hips width apart. They pull the handles up to their armpits. And so they know that is going to yield a long rope. It's going to yield a super long rope, in my book, very long. And so when they start jumping with that rope, they know that rope is going to impact the ground way out in front of them. Unless they start, let me stand up, unless they start pulling their hands up higher, which brings the rope in better, right? So they pull their hands up higher. So now they're jumping with their hands higher on their torso when they do all of their boxer style crossovers and things. But this is closer to their, their sport,
Okay.
right? That's where their hands want to be when they're fighting. As CrossFitters, we tend to do this to try and get the rope in. We push wide, and so we're doing it the wrong way. If you're a boxer, that makes sense to do that. With CrossFitters, we're not trying to do that. We're trying to be as efficient as possible. Which, by the way, boxers want that. They want their hands higher, and they want to try and fatigue their arms, obviously, right? Because they're punching throughout a whole fight. So they want that, and their goal is to try and fatigue their arms. As CrossFitters, we're not trying to fatigue our arms. We're trying to stay as relaxed as possible because we got thrusters and chest to bars right after this, right?
Right.
So we want to be a lot more relaxed and efficient on double unders. So the way we like to approach it is to step 1 foot in the center of the rope, pull the handles up. And what I do is I put both handles in one hand. And instead of holding the handle vertical, because handles are different sizes, right? Like I don't like to use the bottom of the handle up to my armpit.
Good point.
Because that's 2 inches difference, right? So I'm very exact about what your rope size should be. Once you figure out what yours is, it's like your shoe size. You know it fits you. You know it's comfortable. You know it's optimal. You wouldn't go run a 5K in somebody else's shoes, right? Unless they were the same size. So we take the handle out of it, and I only care how long the cord is. So I'll hold both handles in one hand, and then what I'll do is I'll bring my feet together, because your body becomes the measuring stick. So you really need to make your measuring stick as tall as you can make it. So then I'll pull the handle up. So what we propose is the cord, round trip cord, should never be higher than the bottom of your sternum. Like to us, that's almost that's the boxer level length, right? Where we like to see it is down a few inches. As you can start working closer to your belly button. So we try and target halfway between belly button and sternum, somewhere mid torso. Okay. That's what we're shooting for. And so what we know that's going to produce is a rope length that if you had your arms just relaxed down by your side, and if I simply asked you, hey, bend your elbows and just raise your hands up, like wherever they naturally hang, just raise them up until your wrists are lined up with the center of your body. With most people, that's right around hip crease to hip bone, I would say, right? That's just kind of a general pocket of hip crease to hip bone. So right outside your pockets, and if you just raise your hands up, your hands are still shoulders width apart, right? They're still hanging from the shoulder girdle, nice and relaxed. All you're doing is bending your elbow, hinging your elbow backwards, raising your hands up. So now you found your point of axis, right? Like that's your axis point for the rope to rotate around. So all we need the rope length to be is to reach from your hands at that position at the center of your body, shoulders width apart, to about 10 inches in front of your toes, right? Where we want the rope to clear. So if you have that clearance, theoretically, you should have about the same amount of clearance passing overhead. Yeah, we're just trying to create a hamster wheel environment where you're the middle of the hamster wheel. And you have 10 to 12 inches overhead, 10 to 12 inches per foot, right?
I'm going to steal that. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good visual, right? What people don't focus on is that your hands are the axle or the axis point of the wheel. You have to isolate that in a very specific spot. And when we teach our workshops, we tell people, look, when you were taught a snatch, your coach taught you where to reach out and get the bar, how to grip the bar. And then a clean and jerk, you brought your hands in. And then a deadlift, maybe you flip to a mixed grip, but you have very specific position and grip for those movements. Same thing with a jump rope, probably even more so with a jump rope, because you're trying to maintain that very specific, tolerance that you have for the rope to pass in front of your toes. So, so 1 foot in the middle of the rope, both handles in one hand, turn the handles sideways, and then just make sure that it's never higher than the bottom of your sternum would be a starting point. But really, you should try and go, I would say, 4 or so inches below that is really a better spot. And then, it's that simple.
Does this new guideline, Todd, reduce the length of your rope significantly?
Significantly. I mean, I get a rope, and I'm like the longest, like how they come if you buy a whatever general rope.
Yeah, they're
The
90
longest setting is what it comes on. I just use the longest version of it. I'm like, that gives me plenty of wiggle room to do any of this stuff. Plenty of margin for error. So yeah, I'm going to definitely go to the gym today and check out the lengths and try to play a little bit. Now, the other thing that you made mention is that the speed rope is something that you don't think the gym should have right off the bat. So what weighted rope, like what weight of a rope should a newer athlete have, and what weight should like our general average, CrossFit athletes have?
Yep, like 3 ounces, 3 to 4 ounces, anything between 3 to 4 ounces in weight. So just in the cord is perfect, right? Like we tested and tested and tested, and then once we started getting to that range of like, okay, 3 to 4 ounces, we seem to have the most consistency and most success. And then we took that all over the world, and just people respond to that so fast, right? So for example, a typical speed wire weighs 1 ounce.
1 ounce. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So it's
So I was
3
gonna
times
ask
weight, 3 times the weight of a speed rope. So, the rope that we use, we have a name for it. We call it a buff cable, and it's about 3.5 ounces is the weight of that. Depending on the length of it, is about, we kind of gauge it based on between an 8 to a 9 foot length, because most people fall between an 8 to a 9 foot rope, right? So yeah, and the thing about that is, I'm going to tell you my bias. I hate speed ropes personally.
Okay.
As a true blue CrossFitter, man, I'm CrossFit through and through. I'm 17 years in. I do it as often as I can. I love it. But the one thing is, CrossFitters are lazy. They're very lazy.
I mean,
this is why everybody hates the warm up.
Well,
right?
You've heard me say margin of error a bunch, right? I'm lazy. I can get away with being lazy on the jump rope by doing that, right? So I get it. Yeah.
Well, I think it's just, listen, I'm being facetious, right? But this is something, it's a pattern that I see that I don't think I think it's counterintuitive to what, like, we do hard shit, like we're in there doing stuff that like the average person doesn't want to do. But I want the lightest jump rope that I can't feel and it doesn't make me tired. That's right.
Yeah.
And I'm the opposite. Like I'm going, well, hey, like that's another exercise in the workout, and I should feel that exercise. That exercise should provide a stimulus to me that is making me tired, making me work harder, and improving my health and capacity, right? So I'm always using something heavier, trying to use something heavier. If it's not a beaded rope, because a beaded rope has more drag. They're not super heavy, but they just have more air drag, so it makes you work harder. Or a half-pound rope or what have you. So, but the beautiful thing about using something a little bit heavier is that you've got to change your focus. With a speed rope, people grab a speed rope because they think that, like, for example, if we just focus on double unders, because that's obviously everybody's, golden egg. They want a double under. Everybody thinks double unders are supposed to be fast. They try and learn them fast. They try and do them fast, and they always think they're fast, which is why people tend to have one speed and it's fast. And there are days when you're on and great, everything's clicking, and there's days when you're just slightly off and you're tripping a lot and you can't figure out why. It's because you have one speed, right? And it's always fast. And a speed wire, it not only promotes that because it's a speed wire, but because it's so light, in order to feel the centrifugal force moving around you, you kind of have to spin it at a faster cycle rate, right, to create that tension. And when you feel the tension on the rope, then you feel kind of connected to it. But now you got to be able to get out of the way in time, right? Because it's moving so fast. That's what I'm saying. So I see that all the time, in our workshops. How come some days I can do 50 double unders in a row? I feel like a champion. And then other days I can't do 5 in a row, and then I trip. And 5 in a row, and then I trip. And it's because they don't know how to slow down. And to learn how to slow down, you should start with a heavier rope. And then once you figure that skill out, then you can move it around. Then you can use whatever you want, right?
Yep.
So a 3 to a 4 ounce rope will allow you to slow things down and create timing, like develop timing, because it's all about timing, right? Just timing and awareness. People say, oh, it's about rhythm. Well, it is rhythm, but you got to understand the timing to figure out the rhythm, right? And you should purposely or be very intentional about where you're placing the rope when you leave the ground and knowing what you have to accomplish at that point, right? So yeah, so that's why I just, I never, we make the most expensive speed rope, and that's a weird brag to make. We make the most expensive speed rope that athletes love. I'm blown away that people will pay the price for this rope, but it costs us a lot to make because it's very well made. I never use it. I don't like it. I never wanted to even create that rope, honestly, because I thought we're kind of going backwards. I don't want to make it easier for people, but people that compete love it, right? Because it helps them. So there you have it.
Yeah, you got to give the people what they want.
Right.
So you make mention of the rope itself being 3 to 4 ounces, but you guys also, like I find, have a bigger and heavier handle than most speed ropes, right? Most of them are just plastic, lighter handles. Yours feel a little bit heavier. Is that in line with we want the heavier rope and the heavier handles help that as well?
Yeah. So I mean, not intentionally like a heavy handle. So for example, this was our original handle, okay, that we started with, and I didn't design this handle. I kind of created the integration of the swivel mechanism, and that allowed us to make very fixed size cable lengths. So the handle itself, I literally bought it at a store because I was just trying to figure out my own issues, right? So I was just buying what I could and trying them out, and then eventually started Frankensteining parts together. So it was a garage, beer hobby, trying to, figure this stuff out. So yeah, so I mean, this handle weighs right at 2 ounces. So we're talking ounces, and it cracks me up when people are like, wow, some of these handles are kind of heavy. I've had people say that, like, your handles are kind of heavy, and our plastic, here's our plastic freestyle handle. So this is our plastic freestyle handle. This weighs an ounce. So this weighs 2 ounces, this weighs 1 ounce. We're talking ounces, folks. Like, ounces. You thruster, 95, 135 pounds.
Right.
You're going to say 1 or 2
Could you imagine if we had little 1 ounce plates we could put on our weights
that we take off?
Yeah. Well, absolutely.
Now, is the weight of the handle, this might be like a dumb question, so stick with me. The weight of the handle contribute to that overall 3 to 6 ounce? Yes.
That's a great question, and you were onto something there too. It does not. The weight of the cord is the weight by itself, just the cord itself. Yeah. So the cord is on average 3.5 ounces. Let's say the handles are separate, and so. But I think you were kind of heading in this direction. So, for example, our speed ropes, I don't like a super light handle. What people don't realize is when you have a little bit of weight in the handle strategically, the handle acts a little bit like a lever, right? It acts a little bit like a lever and provides leverage to help you rotate the rope. And if you think in terms of like swinging a plastic wiffle bat, you know how that's like just so light and you just swing it and you feel like you don't have control over it. And then if you have to hit a ball, there's not a lot of power. But if you have a bat with a little bit more weight, right, then the weight of that bat when it hits the ball generates more force. Same thing with the handle. If you have a little bit of weight in the handle strategically, not too much, but just enough, and you learn how to use it properly, that actually helps you rotate the rope. So that's kind of a very nuanced concept there.
Does the thicker handle, obviously, like the wider it is, the more we're going to require grip strength, right? And develop grip strength.
No, you just hit it on the head. Imagine climbing a rope. I'm glad you brought that up. Imagine doing a rope climb, right? A standard rope in most CrossFit gyms is 1.5 inches diameter, right?
Yep.
Have you ever tried to climb a rope that was thinner than 1.5 inches? Have you ever tried like 1 inch?
No, I actually have not.
I have.
Way freaking harder. When you have to close your grip up even more, right? And it's way harder to hold that. So here's what I don't like about thin. Like this is a pretty average. These are the width of this is probably our thinnest handle. The top point is probably just under 1 inch, right? But my belief is this: if you take your hand, if you just relax your hand and you turn your hand over and you look at how open your hand is, I want to be able to like retain grip on the handle without having to squeeze down and start locking down my forearm, because I want my wrist to be very relaxed. So I think in terms of like when you play darts, when you throw a dart, you don't death grip that, right? You got nice light little finger touch, and you're using that nice accuracy and the nice flicking motion. Turning a jump rope should feel the same way, just in a circular motion, right? It really should feel the same. So you want a nice relaxed grip. You want your pinchers to be your primary control fingers, that you're literally trying to guide that rope around to hit the target in front of your toes. Remember that 10-inch target in front of your toes. It's your job to be accurate and try and lightly tap that spot every time. Every time you leave the ground, tap, 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 right? So you do that much better when you're relaxed, not when you're death gripping it, right? So
I'm just laughing, David, because everything from the second we started talking about this, you're describing the way that I do double unders to a T. Like I hold it tight, I muscle through. I can't wait till this the affiliate con activation. Like I'm gonna jump in and just get you to destroy everything that I'm doing.
Yeah.
This is so great.
Well, listen, I do this all day long. Like I mean, I just love coaching people and I love helping them. But you gotta want to be helped, right? Like I've encountered so many people that we'll talk about it, and I'll never insult anybody and say like, oh, you're horrible. It's like, well, you can be a little more efficient. If you want to be a little more efficient, we can help you do that. And for some people, it's hard to make a change. They get so ingrained in their patterns and their habits, their movement patterns. So some people are like, you know what, I'm fine. I'm good where I'm at. Like I beat my friend at the workout, and that's all I care about, and I'm good. So
do you do any, I like that. I think that leads to another question I want to ask is, do you do anything to help motivate people to want to develop the skill, which is what it sounds like you were talking about, versus accomplish the task? And so you've got people like most people in class, it's like, I just want to get double unders so I can do them in the workout and I can beat my friend and it's not completely miserable. Whereas it sounds like what you're talking about is like, hey, yeah, you can do double unders, but don't you want to do them better? Don't you want to be more efficient? And I think I think Kristen's the same as I am in the fact that we think about movement that way, right? We've taught seminars forever and want people to not just, hey, you can squat, that's fine, but I want you to squat better because it'll be more efficient, it'll be easier, all of that kind of stuff. So do you have any, like, when you have a conversation about somebody that's kind of like, nah, I think I'm good, do you have any selling points on why like skill development matters?
Yeah, I mean, well, I try and tell them once you get over the hump, because it's hard for some people. Once you get over the hump of struggling through, like when you're pretty good at double unders and you can do 50 in a row, and then all of a sudden you're trying to change rope, do all these different things. It feels very foreign, and I get it, right? It takes time, and you have to really have that desire to fight through it. But what I try and express to people, when you get accustomed to a short rope, man, that's like cheating. A shorter rope is so much easier than a longer rope, and you just don't know it. Like it's right in front of your face, and if you could experience it, you'd be amazed. Like, so for example, I use a child-sized rope, and I'm okay, I'm decent. I'm not the greatest jumper in the world. But the one thing I did train myself is to use the shortest rope I possibly could, just to see what it feels like and to see what my limits were, right? And so, for example, I'm 5'10", and that measurement we set to the bottom of your sternum, that for most people, that will kind of equate to your height plus 3 feet. If you take your height and add 3 feet, that would be about the length of the rope. And that happens to be pretty exact for me. So bottom of my sternum, that's an 8'10" rope. I typically use like a 7'8". My regular double under rope is 7'8" with tons of clearance, right? Like I'm not like barely skimming, my head or anything. I'm always touching the ground. I'm never missing the ground. And my hands are shoulders width apart. I'm not in a straitjacket. So, and if I have to use something longer than that, I can feel it immediately, right? Because I'll feel the impact point on the ground and I'll go, ooh, that's too heavy. I feel that friction. So I have to either pull my hands up or push them out. And the minute I do that, I feel how much more I'm working, like immediately. And so, for example, if I've been a bad boy and I want to punish myself, then in a workout, I will purposely go grab a super long rope. I'll go grab, like, our longest rope on our kind of our gym set is 9'4", or a drag rope, right? A drag rope, our longest one's 9 foot, but it stretches. So it stretches to about a 9'2" to 9'3". I'll go grab that and do a double under workout with that. And in a workout that, let's just say, has 30 double unders per round, for 3 or 5 rounds, if I were using my normal, jump rope, I would breeze through that, right? Each set would take me 20 seconds without even trying to go fast. And I would probably do them unbroken each time. And if I grab that 9-foot drag rope, holy cow, the whole workout becomes about the jump rope. It's just so much more work and so much harder just to get through that. And then when I go do my other movements, I'm even more at a deficit, right? I'm even like dying. So yeah, so when you get accustomed to a short rope, it's amazing how efficiently you move and how little you're expending energy, So that's the selling point. If somebody, wants to buy in, great. And if they don't, hey, everybody has their own fitness journey. I want to impact it positively. So whatever I can do to help them have a good experience, that's the goal. So, and some people they don't want the help. Great.
Do your thing.
Well, I mean, you're right in that it takes the acceptance that we're going to take a couple steps back before we can start to move forward. And that can get pretty frustrating for people to be like, now they're worse. And it's like, you have to trust the process. You have to have patience. But yeah, I'm going to throw this back up here. I put this up here earlier, but Allie saying all CrossFitters and be adjusting their ropes today. I love we've been our conversation 35 minutes and we're just like, it's the size of the rope, the type of rope, the length of the rope. I mean, it just goes to show how important some of these basic things are,
Yeah. What's funny is the typical pattern is somebody will grab a rope and they'll try and jump with it. And if they feel the rope hitting too sloppy out in front of them, they push their hands out and they adjust them, right? To get the rope to clean up. They do that innately without even knowing they're doing it. But they never do it in reverse. If they grab a rope that's too short, they don't say, oh, I just need to adjust my hands inward, right, until I clean it up.
Right.
And, oh, okay, right. Like, I don't know why that is, but people just seem to never do that. But hopefully people will start trying. That's all you should do is the minute you pick a rope up, where is it hitting? Adjust your hands accordingly to get it to lightly graze the ground where you want it, 10 inches in front of the toes, and then lock in. Once you have that spot, that's where you lock in and everything should work out okay.
So that leads, and Ali, I think, asked a question about this too, is let's see, is this it? What's your go-to progression? So it's like, all right, we get somebody ideally sized correctly with the jump rope. We've got the right weighted jump rope. How are you going to go through the process of teaching somebody how to get their double unders or just drilling somebody to jump rope correctly? Because I'm sure you need to be able to do single unders correctly before we're going to move to double unders anyway. So what does your progressions typically look like?
Glad you asked that. Let's back up even further. Let's crawl. Let's crawl before we
let's crawl. Yes.
Right. And so assuming we get somebody into the right size rope or roughly the right size rope, right? The right size rope is going to allow them to generally be in good positioning is what we're shooting for. And then it could be, a gradual progression to go shorter over time. So you don't need to drop down right away to a super short rope. 2 to 4 inch increments is all you need to shoot for. But the first thing I try and do is teach people how to start the rope, right? Because how you start is how you finish. And so many people start the rope the wrong way. And they do that because the rope was always too long, right? So
it's such a trickle down effect.
It is.
Like everything, it affects everything.
Everything is cause and effect, right? So here's what happens. I'm going to demonstrate this and tell me if this looks familiar to you guys. People grab a rope, they got a rope in their hands, and then the first thing they do is they turn into a scarecrow So right away, boom, I just turned my shoulders on, right? Because they had to tighten the rope, that big long rope, they had to tighten it up in order to grab traction and pull it over their head. Now the rope's over their head, and then they just lock in, right? Because they turned them on, now they're on. And then all of a sudden, now they identify that tension of the rope, they identify it with the wrong muscles. Rather than identifying it with your fingertips and wrists, feeling the tension of the rope, now they're feeling it up here. That's where they feel the tension. So, stripping that away is huge, okay? So trying to get people to start the rope without lifting their elbows away from their ribs. So from this starting position, we teach them just to flash their hands, right? Just flash their hands backwards. I'm just throwing my hands back. And what that's doing is it's sending the rope backwards off my legs, right? So I just send it back. And then as soon as I've kind of maxed out how far I can swing my arms, then I just simply turn the handle up and that'll grab the rope. So, and then once you get the handles pointing up, my elbows are still down, then I let my hands drop into this, I call this the barbell position, right? I'm holding a barbell. You can really see that. I know this angle, but you're like, my center of body is right below my belt line, and this is where my hands need to be, right? So this is, I want to be shoulders width apart, just relaxed, and this is where I want to operate. I want to be very loose and relaxed, right? Like I'm shaking water off my hands. So I want to get to this position. And this is what you don't see a lot of people do. A lot of people will go,
Yes.
totally different.
100%. Yeah.
So does the progression start with literally just ropes behind your feet, elbows are at your side, get it off your legs, point your hands up, and then bring it and like hit the ground in front of you? You're not even jumping, right? Do you just start?
Not even jumping, correct. We call it a toe catch. We call it a toe catch. So you're purposely bringing the rope overhead, letting the rope come down, and then you're just going to like lift your toes and let the rope just trap right under your toes, right? You're aiming for that. So that creates that accuracy component. It's your job to guide the, you'd be amazed how many people have a hard time doing that because they don't equate their hand position with where the rope is going to bottom out. So they're bouncing the rope off the ground all over the place, and it'll bounce off over their toes.
Onto the foot, yeah.
Right? And they don't understand the concept of like, oh, I have to gauge and control where the end of that rope is from my handles, the handle end. They just think it kind of does it on its own. And you're controlling everything that happens, right? You control it. So that's another thing I explain to people. When you trip, like I trip all the time. Like I'm not ever embarrassed about tripping because tripping just means like we're not perfect machines. We're not going to move perfectly every time. And when you trip, that means that you were off either in your positioning or your mechanics or your timing. One of those three things was off. It's just an opportunity to troubleshoot and correct which one it was, right? And so, your brain should work like a little computer. Like, oh, I was off on my positioning. Let me correct my positioning. And then boom, you're off and running. But it just kind of simplifies what your task objective is instead of like, why am I tripping? I don't know. You should almost never not know why you're tripping, Right. If you understand what's happening or what you're trying to accomplish, you should be able to troubleshoot your own issues. So yeah, toe catch, that's like my first starter. Learn how to toe catch, right? Probably because it gets you to start the rope properly and get you in position. And then that position is the same position you're going to use for single unders, for double unders, for triple unders, for crossover single unders, crossover double unders. You start and end in that same base position. That I call it barbell, just because CrossFitters always resonate with the barbell.
They can relate to that.
No, I think that's great. Yeah.
Okay, so step one, toe catch. We get that down. Where are we headed next?
So now toe catch. Okay, while you're toe catching, there's things that you're trying to observe and accomplish while you're toe catching, right? So where do you guys look when you jump rope? Where do you guys like to look?
I try to look straight ahead, or straight ahead and slightly up is typically where I'll look.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. If you were walking across the street and a car was about to hit you, would you look away from the car?
I would not.
Right. Most people won't. You're going to be like, you're going to look right at the car and try and jump out of the way. So where the rope wants to trip you up is where you should be looking. Okay. So down at a 45.
No
down
way.
At a 45.
Okay.
You see so much happens when you head neutral. Don't dump over. Head neutral. Look down your nose at a 45. And the two things that I ask people to do is try and look for the blur of the rope. Because when you start identifying the blur of your rope down by your knees, down at knee level, that triggers in your brain, ooh, I should be getting out of the way. So now you start to set up proper timing to jump at the right time. Most people that look out here, a lot of times they jump at the wrong time. They're jumping too early, right? Because it's like they see the rope and they think the rope is too fast. So they start to jump early. So you jump when the rope is at 3 o'clock and you're on your way up and the rope is still passing from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock to finally you're almost coming down before you've even started the next rotation of a double under. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But if you wait for the rope to get down to say 5 o'clock or 5:30, which is plenty of time if the rope is moving at the right speed, right?
Okay.
Not fast, just under tension so you can control it. Then you jump. Now the rope's already passed under. By the instant you left the ground, the rope's already passed under. And that's what you want for a double under, right? You want the rope to pass under the second you leave the ground. So what I'll have people do is practice spotting their rope and just start identifying the blur. And then with their peripheral vision, they should be able to see their hand, at least their knuckles and the handle, the top of the handle. They should be able to see at least that much of their hand down under their chest, right? Just with your peripheral vision. So when you can spot your hands, it's easier to keep track and make sure that they're staying in position. A lot of people's hands will go wonky, right? They'll move out of position or they'll move too much, right? So see the rope, see the hands, right? Those are big check-ins for me. Like I said, I taught myself this 17 years ago, and I've been teaching everybody else this 16 years ago. I still do these things every time I jump. I probably don't need to, but it's just a habit now. I do these check-ins every time I jump. Just like every time I snatch a light barbell, I still try and think about proper positioning and technique, even though it's a light barbell. I don't want to get sloppy and start developing crappy habits. So eyes down, spot the rope, spot the hand. So after they do and get the toe catch down, I'll have them do 5 or 10 single unders, right? So now start the rope, jump into 5 or 10 single unders, still spotting the rope, spotting their hands, and then land toe catch. Always finish your last rope.
Okay.
To show that you're still in position.
Right.
You should still be in the same spot, right? Your body should look like a statue, right? With your arms being relaxed though. So yeah, and then that's the progression, just to make sure that they're moving in proper position, then proper sequence, right? Like the timing of it, and get that ingrained. I was literally just doing this with a buddy in the gym yesterday. I have a guy that I work out with. He's a little newer to CrossFit, less than a year in. And I started working with him, earlier on. And so he's getting double unders now. But, we're always working out. It's hard to coach somebody when you're working out,
Right.
And I'll stop my workout. I don't care about my time. So I'll stop my workout to kind of
Always
give
a
them
coach.
pointers while they're doing it. And but after the workout, I brought him back over, and he's getting like big chunks of double unders, but he's just working really, really hard. And it's exactly what we just talked about. He's just jumping too soon. He's jumping out of position. He's not really protecting his position. And I had to explain to him, you've got to protect your position, because your position creates the spacing that you need. And he's taking away that spacing, that tolerance, So, and we did toe catches. Hey, do toe catches, spot it. Okay, now do some singles, spot it, right? So that's square one, just to start building that structure.
So I want to continue down the path of where you head with progression later to move towards double unders. But I also want to mix in there, like, what are some of the common faults and then corrections that you see along the way? And I'm guessing jumping too soon is one of them. And so how do you fix that? The progression step that you just talked about, to watch the rope, have your eyes at 45 degrees to make sure it's closer to 5 o'clock than it is to 3 o'clock. You talked about seeing your hands with your face looking down or with your eyes looking down, because people's hands get out of position, right? Like one of the go-to like CrossFit coaching faults identified in jumping rope and cues is like you see hands go out and it's pull your elbows in or bring your hands in. Is that correct? Is that incorrect? What is?
Well, it's vague. It's vague.
Okay.
It's the best way I can put it, right? Like listen, it's just vague. Everybody is so different. That's the thing. Everybody does something so different. Their bodies move differently. They think differently, and they're perceiving their world differently and how they're moving. It's really wild to like try and identify, okay, how is this person viewing what they're doing, and how are they feeling it? How are they sensing it? You know what I mean? So it again, that's a very nuanced thing. But to your point, elbows back is the best cue in the world. Elbows back, not elbows in. Elbows back, right? Because here, and I'll explain why. Morning. I'll explain why. It's if you've got them into the right size rope, that hopefully will alleviate the problem of them having to like throw their arms wide to try and take up the slack, right? And you've taught them how to start the rope properly. So if we're getting them drilled to be in the right position and protect this position, so it's elbows back. So look, when I'm relaxed, if I'm just in my natural relaxed stance, okay, my hands are sitting right in front of my pockets, right?
Yep.
And if I raise my hands up, where do the elbows
back?
go?
Okay.
They hinge backwards. It's natural. If my hands are wet and I want to shake water off my hands, this is what I do. I don't do this. Right? You just don't do that. Like it's just that's not natural. So we're trying to stick to like what does the body naturally like to do to move and to generate, like create movement, create force, create momentum, right? And so that's a very natural thing. I just raise elbows, slide back so the hands can come straight up. Because if my elbows, I never want to see this from shoulder to elbow. I never want to see that vertical. If it's vertical, but I have to bring my hands up to my midline of my body, I have to either lift my hands forward to get there. So now my hands are out here, which means the bottom of my rope is misplaced. I just moved my hamster wheel too far forward, right? And so where the bottom out is going to come up is the wrong spot, right? So when you see this is when you see your dolphin kickers.
Because they have to get their feet out of the way.
Forward. Yeah, they move their feet forward to miss the rope, right? Because their hands are too far forward. So if they don't do this, then they do this. They're out here, right?
So it's still vertical, right? One of the other things that I do notice sometimes is in addition to people's feet or hands going wide, going out, sometimes they go backwards. You see that too, where like people jump and for whatever reason, their hands are now behind the center of their body, right? And obviously that's moving the jump rope back. So they mess that up. And so like my thought process, thinking of seeing that happen with an athlete and then listening to your cue of elbows back, I wouldn't use that cue with that athlete, or because I guess it's typically their hands going backwards and not their elbows. So would elbows back naturally potentially bring their hands forward? Would that be a cue to use with that athlete as well, or no?
No, you probably need to tell them to bring their hands forward, right?
Okay.
Like you need to say like, hey, if you have a barbell, you can't break that barbell. When that barbell hits your hips, you can't break it. That's where your hands stop, right? So I would get their hands in the right position and then see where their elbows are, once they get there. So you probably need to cue that one very specific to what that person is doing. But you're right. A lot of people do throw their hands. That's why if you get them to spot 45 in front and you get them to see their hands, like I can see both my hands right now, right here. I don't know if you can see it in the video. When I'm looking, I can see that much of my hand, right? So they should see both hands at all times. So if at any time their hands are disappearing, you need to get them to just spot their hands. Like, hey, see your hands for every rep, right? Spot their hands. So, so that'll usually help it. I mean, we have tools. We've made tools. I've got them. We were using them with somebody, but we call them jump cuffs, but it's an elastic kind of stretchy band with Velcro straps that we strap around people's wrists, and it goes in front of their hips, and it prevents them from going wide, but it prevents them from throwing back, right?
Okay.
So it kind of restricts, their motion if we have to use it. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to get this, now that we're talking faults, another question we have from Jess here. I wanted to make sure we covered this. She's got an athlete who can't connect her rope swing and her jump. So she'll swing, her arms will stop, and then she'll jump. And she hasn't been able to get her to do them both simultaneously.
Yeah, go heavier. Get a
Okay.
heavier rope. Yeah, maybe even heavier than 3 ounces sometimes. Like a heavier
Needs
rope.
a little feedback.
Huge. It just does so much. Yeah, just get a heavier rope and see what that does. Yeah, I mean, there are some times that I have to grab our half-pound cord is called the Zeus cable, and I mean, honestly, it's not that heavy. You can do a lot of double unders with it if you're conditioned, but it's great. There's some people that need that. They need that, and it helps them connect. People should feel the rope all the way around their body. They need to feel and know where it's at in the front, in the back, above. They should always know where the rope is at, right? And so if they have a nice loose grip and they can sense that just through the tension in their fingertips, then you always know where it's at. You're never surprised, like, oh my gosh, there's the rope, and I didn't know it was going to be there.
Man, this has been awesome. I really want to continue hearing about progressions and all of this stuff, but we also don't want to steal all your time. I think we got one more question I want to ask, and this comes from Instagram, and it's, what resources do you recommend for double unders, the variations for us as coaches, and how to effectively teach this skill? And obviously, your seminar, going to Affiliate Con and learning directly from you, those are going to be great resources. So we encourage everybody to go and do that. But anything else? You talked about your tools, your cuffs. I'm sure you guys make a lot of products that help as well. Do you guys have videos and stuff like that people can use and steal for the progressions as well?
Yeah, absolutely. We have downloads. If you go to our website, we have a tab, I think it says for training, and there's some downloads on there. They're usually free. Some of them might be a fee for them, but I think for the most part they're free. And then our YouTube channel, we put a lot of stuff over the years. I mean, there's archives and archives, but if you go to our YouTube channel, I think there's a playlist for training that we teach a lot of different skills, and we're still trying to curate that and make it better, right? Like, media has changed so much to where I talk way too much, as you guys have learned in this last hour. I talk way too much, so we're trying to make it more brief and punchy and to the point. And so we're trying to get new stuff out there.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Well, I'll tell you right now, I cannot wait to see you in person at Affiliate Con, to jump into your sessions and continuing to improve my double unders. And I'm going to be working on it. I'm going to find the right rope length, or at least something closer than what I've been using, and go from there. What do we got? Oh yeah. Got 13 years in this thing, hoping to get this. I think this obviously the information you shared is definitely going to help. And then going to RxSmartGear.com and using some of those resources. Go ahead.
Hey, I want lead up. You need to come to Affiliate Con, and I will work. And because that's just a shame. That, like, I've seen that so many times where people have been in CrossFit for so long. I know people have quit CrossFit because they couldn't get double unders. They were great at everything else, and that was the one skill that eluded them. And it shouldn't be that way. They're so easy once you understand how they work and what you need to do. They're so easy. It's such an easy, attainable skill. So come to Affiliate Con. We'll get you fixed up.
Love it.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for your time. And your wisdom. This has been awesome. Absolutely.
Oh, Todd.
Thank you for checking out this episode of the Best Hour of Their Day podcast. Now, if you're a coach who wants to coach more effectively, impact your members, and advance your career, then the Knowledge Pro is the next step. Inside, you'll get hundreds of coaching videos, weekly calls with level 4 coaches, and direct feedback on your coaching. From homework reviews to full class breakdowns, we do it all. This is the best way to grow as a coach and take your skills to the next level. Now you can join the Knowledge Pro at besthouroftheirday.com/the knowledge. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen. Now keep coaching, keep improving, and we'll see you next time.